Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame. After Friday's significant selling pressure here, we are now met with two back-to-back narrow range days here. Very similar to some of the big moves we've seen before. Big 2 days up here, and then you start to go narrow over the next several days. We could see further range-bound price action with a downward bias in the near term, especially as the market awaits news later on this week, including initial jobless claims, the NFP report, and things of that nature later on this week. So we could be looking at kind of a holding pattern ahead of the next key move. But right now, after this lower high and this breakdown through 4100, 4080, we could be looking at a continuation down in the near term. Not only back to the FOMC key level at 39.77, but perhaps a bit lower until we see some sort of significant strong low. So right now, 2-day range-bound action at the moment. We could continue to trade back and forth within the range throughout much of the day. Above 40.70 and especially above 40.80 could open up a bit more strength. But again, keep an eye on any strength being met with resistance here, as that could lead to the next swing move down. If we take a look at the NQ, another narrow range day here developing. You can see again, after a super high range day on Friday, we've seen two back-to-back super narrow days here. In the NQ, again, this thing broke through key support here, 12.8, and we could see a pullback as deep as that, and that could still be a selling opportunity for this thing to continue downward toward 12K up ahead. So we could still be looking at more weakness overall on a near-term basis, but from the very short term here, we could be sideways with a range-bound action here the next several days. Obviously a downward bias as we await news later in the week. If we take a look here at crude oil, this one right now has had a significant pullback after yesterday's strength. We've seen this thing pull back much deeper than the previous session's midpoint. It's currently below that level. A failed new high above the previous highs, and a fade after trend day back to the midpoint here. Price briefly dipped below the 94s and is now popping back above that zone. This has been a very bullish short-term move up, but it hasn't been in a straight line. We've seen the initial move, a deep pullback, failed new low, another move, a deep pullback, failed new low, another move, and a deep pullback. So this thing is pushing higher, but it is meeting some resistance along the way. The key level here continues to be this blue line. That's about 92.80s. That's the previous quarter's low. If price can continue to hold that level here on this pullback, we could be looking at a push up toward the 102s. That's the top end of the next key range here. So again, holding this zone could get us higher toward 102. Failing here, and you open up the recent lows back toward 86. Taking a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin up a little bit here today, but starting to see an initial reaction at the previous session's high price. This one has been all downhill ever since the higher high failure at the previous month's high earlier this month. That rejection right there, another failed new high and a breakdown. This all led to significant selling pressure, and so far this has been unloading it to the downside. So we could be looking at another pullback that takes us back into the lows. We were off of these lows by a nice amount here, but again, after these series of rejections here, we've almost made the trip all the way back to 18,630. Once we get down into that zone, again, it could be another bounce back up as this thing tries to trade and hold these levels rather than break down further. Taking a look at ETH, this one is held very nicely at the 1400 level. We talked about this one being a better candidate to the upside here lately, as it has doubled from 1,000 to 2,000. The pullback here was rather deep, but you can see it continues to hold that 1400 level. The 1300 CLVN continues to be intact. We do have a short-term downtrend, but so far this thing is holding this edge. A failure to hold 1400 though could open up a retest back toward 1000 up ahead, so that's a key level to continue to watch. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.